I'd like to think that the Boomers did show incredible restraint and courage not to invade the court and escalate the violence that we saw in that footage, which was just out of control. Look, I think the responsibility falls on the Filipino Basketball Association. Their behaviour, their officials, leaving the bench, starting that vicious brawl, the king hits, the chair throwing, etc. It was just unacceptable. Those players don't leave the bench and start this all in brawl. Then we have a couple of players who are going to get ejected for a bad elbow and a push and a shove, and that's all it is. I think the overreaction by the Filipino team is just disgraceful, and I hope that FIBA, the international governing body of the game, comes down really hard. I'd like to see the Filipino team kicked out of the rest of the World Cup qualifiers. Like, they're supposed to be hosting a World Cup in 4 years' time, 5 years' time. I don't think they're capable of doing it right now, given what we've just seen.
What about that selfie that they took at the end? I know it was only something quick, but it was so symbolic of the way that they felt about the whole scenario.
Yeah, it's just, there was obviously something going on before the game. There was a little incident, where one of the players tripped Daniel Kickett in the warm-ups, which is just unheard of. So there was that niggle, a bit of aggravation going into the game. And then I think that selfie at the end just sort of shows the arrogance and the attitude of this team. They were itching for a brawl, I think, and to take that selfie just shows a total lack of disrespect and understanding of or gravity of the situation.
But we can't say that no Australians were at fault, because there were some 4 players were ejected from the game, and there's going to be punishments. What do you think is going to happen to the Australians at the centre of it?
Look, I think Daniel Kicker's probably going to get a pretty lengthy ban, between 4 and 6 matches, which he probably deserves. Thon Maker, he's the one that you saw doing those sort of leaping kicks in the air. I don't think too much. He may get a couple of games. But really, what Daniel Kickett did, we see on an AFL, games and NRL games on a weekly basis, a high shot. Jeremy Cameron just got 5 weeks for his shot on Harris Andrews at the Brisbane Lions. Yeah, but the Brisbane Lions players and their fans and officials didn't invade the pitch and cause a wild melee or brawl. So I think, the brawl, those guys, if the referees and the Filipino players if they handled the situation properly, the referees would have kicked a couple of players off, they would have been ejected, they get suspended for a couple of games, and we wouldn't see the footage that we had.
It was pretty grim stuff. Just very, very quickly, Tim, as a journalist for a long time and a former basketball player, this must have been tough for you to watch.
Yeah, you don't want to see your national team involved in anything like this. There's going to be moments where players lose their cool, like obviously Daniel Kickett did, and they deserve to take get their punishment, take responsibility for their action. But there's no excuse for what we saw, and for the Boomers, who have really displayed themselves in great character on the world stage. It's just horrible to see them, victims in this wild brawl.